Hi everyone and welcome to another retreat review. These videos are an objective look at some of the retreats that I've been on, where I describe what they offer in terms of facilities, organisation and culture to help you guys decide whether it's the sort of place that you'd like to visit. What I'm not going to talk about in this video is any of my personal experiences with the medicine or any other kind of trip report style stuff. I'm just going to talk about the retreat as a value package and my objective opinion on it. So let's get into it. In this review, we're going to be looking at a retreat that specialises in the medicine of San Pedro, called Casa de la Gringa in Cuzco. Now, there's some confusion around the name of this place, which I'll try and clear up here. The organisation which operates this retreat is called Another Planet, and the organisation owns a few businesses around the Cuzco area, one of which is a hostel in the city centre called Casa de la Gringa, and the other of which is a compound out in the countryside which is called the Mountain House Retreat, and this is where you do the San Pedro ceremonies. So despite the various names, pretty much everyone I ever talked to always referred to the San Pedro retreat as Casa de la Gringa. And that's what I got used to, so that's what I'm going to do for the rest of this review. But as a final point of clarification, whether I'm talking about Another Planet or Casa de la Gringa or the Mountain House Retreat Centre, for the purpose of this review, it's all the same thing. Okay, so a little bit of background. I was here at Casa de la Gringa in May 2017 as part of a larger trip around Peru, and I stayed at the Casa de la Gringa hostel in the city and then went on to do one of the San Pedro retreats at the Mountain House. Now, we're not going to talk too much about the hostel itself. I will say that I liked it. It was fairly basic, but it was friendly and comfortable. I liked the overall vibe and atmosphere of the place, so much so that I'm going to Cuzco again in a few months and I booked to stay there again. The facilities at Casa de la Gringa are really good. The compound, it has like two huge gardens, which is where the San Pedro ceremonies take place. There are several shared bedrooms for people who are staying overnight. There's a communal fire pit, so there's lots of bathrooms and a ceremonial maloca. It's probably one of the most comfortable retreats I've ever been on. And the reason being for that is that for the most part, you're just lounging around in this beautiful garden. There's loads of seating areas scattered throughout the garden, or you're just encouraged to just splat around on the grass. And the facilitators will bring things to you like pillows and blankets to help you get cozy and comfortable. You really couldn't ask for more, it's just simply top notch. Now, the gardens themselves are beautifully maintained and there are San Pedro cactuses growing all over the place. So I assume that the San Pedro that you actually consume as part of the retreat is all homegrown, which is good news for people who like to know that their plant medicines are environmentally sustainable. Casa de la Gringa and the organisation it belongs to are a family-run business operated by someone called Leslie Myberg and her two sons Mark and Simon. Leslie's originally from South Africa, but I believe she moved over to Peru sometime in the 90s where she did an apprenticeship with a shaman. So she's been part of this sort of psychedelic scene for about 3 decades now, and she's got a very solid reputation in the community for quality San Pedro retreats. And you can see this by the pages of glowing reviews online. When I was there, it was Leslie who was running the show. Her son Mark was there to conduct some of the activities, which I'll talk about later. And there were some additional facilitators there who were very friendly, very attentive, and made us very comfortable. In addition to those guys, there was a traditional native shaman who would sort of like walk around giving each person like blessings and smudgings. I think they said his name was Diego, I'm not 100% sure on that. But he was just absolutely adorable, a very unique guy. You would sort of catch sight of him and he'd just be staring off into space or like communing with things that you couldn't see. Very unique character. I very much liked being around him. He was a lot of fun. So all in all, it's a great team there at Casa de la Gringa. They were very welcoming and they went out of their way to make us comfortable and feel secure during the whole experience. location itself is positioned in this stunning piece of countryside, which marks the beginning of the Inca Trail. And so there are several ancient Inca sites nearby. And the morning after the ceremony, we were given a dawn tour of all of them by one of the organisers, Mark. Now this was really cool. We got up early, the sun was just coming up, we're still feeling the afterglow from the San Pedro ceremony the previous day, and then we just venture out into this piece of beautiful Peruvian countryside to explore these sacred sites. The main site we visited was called the Moon Temple, which has some fairly obvious feminine symbolism and energy coming from the place. Moving on from there, we ended up at this ice cold fresh stream where we stopped for a drink and sort of dunked our heads in the water, kind of like an impromptu baptism. All the while through this, Mark is telling us about the history of these places, filling us all the little details, and we were just soaking it all up while still full of wonder from like the San Pedro and the previous day's ceremony. It was a really cool activity. I'm really glad we made the effort to get up early and take part. It added a lot to the value of the whole experience. Unlike ayahuasca, San Pedro ceremonies usually take place within the daytime, so it's a very different vibe to what I was used to. We started off in the Maloca, where we had an introduction and some words of explanation about what was going to take place during the day. And then we basically head off into the garden, you find a spot and you drink your cactus smoothie. Now this daytime setting and the more laid back nature of it make it a much more social experience, and people naturally congregate into groups and start chatting and talking about what's going on as they go through the experience. The shaman would move around the groups offering smudgings and blessings, and there were additional cups of San Pedro offered to anybody who wanted to have a much deeper experience. The San Pedro itself is not a harsh taste like ayahuasca. It's more the texture, which is kind of slimy. I would describe the whole thing as like a bitter cucumber smoothie. It's definitely not pleasant, but it's not this assault on the taste buds in the same way that ayahuasca is. The problem I did have with it though is just the volume of it. You have to drink these really big cups, it's very dense, and then once you've glugged it all down, you just feel kind of bloated with all this cactus gunk. Still, it's very doable. Now, as the evening draws in and the San Pedro begins to wear off, the facilitators will provide some hot food like soup or stew, and then basically you can do what you want. Some people would hang out around one of the communal fireplaces, some people will like chatting or singing songs, or if you're completely wiped out by the experience, you can hit the sack in one of the various shared bedrooms. So I really enjoyed my time at Casa de la Gringa, and I'll give it a big thumbs up. It was cozy, it was comfortable. I would definitely recommend it for anyone who wants to explore San Pedro. The location is really something, with its sweeping views of the Peruvian countryside and various Inca places of interest. It's fairly close to Cuzco city centre, which means it doesn't require the same kind of time commitment as ayahuasca, where you have to commit to this kind of 7-day chunk. And also because they offer 1-day ceremonies, you can fit it into a travel schedule if you're only in Cuzco for a few days. It's also very flexible. You can stay for one night like I did, or I've known people who stayed for multiple weeks. So if you're feeling the call of San Pedro, then give them a look. So that's it for this retreat review. I'm going to try and put one of these out every month until I get through all the places that I've visited. If you like the content here on Adeptus Psychonautica, then please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.